I always want to say welcome back to the People of Peoria podcast. I was a host for the People of Peoria podcast. Austin Savage is the host now. He was the original host who created it, and then I was on the episode for my woodworking business, and Austin had me on. I kind of loved it. I think I've been on a couple podcasts before that. And he got to the point where he couldn't manage it as good as he wanted anymore, and they're moving out of town. So I took it over for several, I'd say a year, for sure, every bit of a year. The problem I had with it is it just became bigger than I wanted it to be. We kind of went all out. I need to find that happy medium. We had a producer, had a co-host. We traveled and we did the podcast on site. It was really cool, the vision I had. But I was also trying to do a lot of stuff on my own. Grateful for Tyler to be the producer on that and get it edited. But it was just too much, and it became too much. And honestly, the co-host I picked was definitely a lot different than me. Had different views, different ways of work, a different lifestyle, and that was so important to me. It was so important that we didn't have just two Jeffs in the room, because my God, can you imagine having two of me in the room? So yeah, no, it just didn't work out. It was just everyone was on a different page with some things, and it just sucked because it was fun. But now it's just well, now I can do it. Now I can do this. So no, I spent the better part of the morning marketing to some local dispensaries, just kind of about cannabis. And I really want to create some sort of show and get volunteers to where we have the podcast, and it is about someone that's never used cannabis before, hasn't in many, many years. And I would love to break that stigma of what cannabis can do, because cannabis has opened things in my brain that I didn't even know existed. And it's just done so great for me in the past 2 years. I'd love to not only make it entertaining, because it is funny, it is funny, but then also give someone that comfortable space to maybe see something else they like better. A lot of, just like myself, a lot of people didn't know, all they knew was alcohol. All they knew was going to drink. They didn't understand that there was something else. So, it doesn't have to be that deep. We don't have to get into this whole psychological effect of cannabis, good and bad. But just, it's something I love, and it's something I like to promote, and I'm grateful to be a spot in my life to where I can kind of pour into these little projects, other than just kind of going through the day-to-day thing that I've always done my whole life. So, no, I'm grateful for the space. I love the podcast. I haven't really looked up any, God, you know what? I am really focusing on my yeah, why do I do that so much? There is a... All right, back on track. That blueberry clementine concentrate, New Era, I'm looking at you. I love me some concentrate, and I love me some New Era. That's the last sponsor, New Era. That's the last shout out I give you. I think I gave you 3. There's been 3 in these episodes, and you know what? I want you to have more. I want to take on this project with New Era. That is I would say my most... Well, it's the closest dispensary to my house, so it is where I usually go in Pekin, Illinois. But honestly, location pretty much decides on anything I do. I like to stay close. So, New Era, thanks for the concentrate. It's losing me a little bit of track of thought, but nonetheless, we're back on track. Let's stop bumbling and get into a little bit of Answer the Internet. All right, this one was 15 minutes ago. Am I the asshole for asking for my grandpa's house? Couple paragraphs, let's dig in. This is sort of a weird situation. My grandpa owns a house that has been in the family for over 50 years. My great-grandpa built it, and I lived in it for 20 years or so. He signed it over to my grandpa, who lived there for 10 years or so. He moved out, but retained ownership, and my parents moved in rent-free. Again, those boomers. Got 'em made. I grew up most of my childhood in this house for the better part of the last decades. My parents haven't lived there anymore, and they've been renting it out. Okay, so the parents are renting it out to a stranger. They still own it. Got it. Now I'm married with kids, and I want to move in. I currently own a nice home, but it's pretty small, and this one is much larger and much nicer. I told my parents I wanted to ask him for it since he has no interest in the property other than his name on the deed. My parents have been paying insurance, taxes, etc., and collecting rent on the property for 20 plus years altogether. It's basically their house with his name on the deed. Okay, so grandpa owns it. Mom and dad are renting it out. Daughter's got a family, wants the house. but it's legally still grandpa's on paper, right? So I tell my parents and they basically said he won't do it, but sure, you can ask him. Okay, fair. So that's what I did. Well, he immediately said yes because he doesn't care about the house. Now that I have a yes, my parents are pitching a fit, saying that if he signs it over to me, it's not fair to my siblings and cousins. My rebuttal is no one wants to live there besides me anyways. Everyone has moved away from our town besides me. I see the point, and I'd be getting a $300,000 asset from him while nobody's getting anything, but nobody wants it anyways. It'd all be in a trust anyways, so it can't be sold after it is transferred to me. My thinking is, if someone doesn't want it and it can't be sold as to keep it in the family, then it has no effect worth, if that makes sense. Yeah, basically, Shane, you can't sell it anyways. It's not worth. I get it. Okay, we're following. It would be different if he was giving me $300K in cash. All right, last paragraph. I don't know. I'm pretty pissed off about the whole deal because I want my kids to grow up where I grew up. This house has all my core childhood memories, and I want to share that with them along with selfishly. It's a big, big, nice house, and I'd love the comfort of being in a house that size. I can't afford to buy or build a house like that. Well, no one can. I know this is champagne problems, but give me your opinion. So am I the asshole? Let's break it down. Grandpa owns a house. Old Grandpa Don. Grandpa Don owns this big dog house, or what we call it. In my family, my youngest son, when he started talking, he'd always say, "Oh, Dad, that's a big dog." And because I'd always say, "Oh, that's a big dog, ain't it? That's a big four-wheeler, big rock. Oh, that's a big dog." Well, he started saying, "Dad, that's a big dog." It cracks me up. So now I don't say big dog. I say big dog. All right, so Grandpa Don has got this house. It is his house on the deed in the family land. Right now, Grandpa Don doesn't have much to do with it, but, and I'm trying to think of the author from my point of view. I am the child. So now my mom and dad pretty much rent this house out to a stranger. They don't officially own it. They're more or less the property managers. Okay, so it hasn't been lived in by anyone in the family for 20 years. My parents have been paying insurance, taxes, and collecting rent on the property for 20 years. Okay, cool. So, granddaughter, me, this is the POV. I go to Grandpa. I'm like, "Hey, Grandpa, let me get this house," and he's just like, "Yeah, awesome. Love it." He's probably, I'm guessing, I'm speculating that they have the closest relationship and that he knows her the most because she is still home. So, staying at home, get your perks. Get whatever you want out, especially if you got some land. My God. I'm just now understanding how close this story is to my own. Interesting. This was not on purpose. I see what she's saying. No one's going to live there anyways, but they are making rent on it. Grandpa said it's okay. I think essentially the best thing would be to make an agreement with your family, anyone in that trust, anyone that's listed in that trust, is everyone come together and you say, "Hey, why don't we rent this from the trust?" Or even like maybe a contract for deed or something in the verbiage of the rental that says like, "This is your home. You are welcome to do whatever you want to it. It is just like home ownership. You're not a traditional tenant in the sense of they can't just kick you out whenever." I think there's some sort of agreement that could be made in just as a renter or a contract for deed. And something else, and I know this just answered the internet. I'm not saying this person hasn't done it, but I'm putting myself in their shoes. I would probably find some sort of, maybe like a real estate attorney. This has happened before. This isn't a new problem. Like, this is not, I'm watching my dog try to lick her. This isn't something new that's so wild that it's never happened before. So I think there's probably an easy solution there. But the part I really wanted to hit on is she talked about wanting to make the memories that she had. So memories, in my opinion, cannot be repeated. You can share your memories. You can share those feelings you had, but that doesn't necessarily, that means your kids are going to feel them. But what you can do is kind of encompass those feelings. What made you feel like that? Was it safe? Was it safety you liked? Was it comfort you liked? Was it excitement? Was it a thrill? And you can kind of cater that to your kids. the house is just a house. It's kind of obsolete in the view of the whole world if we expand all the way out. The house is just a place that is not necessarily going to translate to your kids. So I know that's not the question, but that is just something that caught me when I was reading. You can make really, really, really good new memories with your kids no matter where you go. But I do understand being a kid from the farm myself and being someone that lives in the country now, yes, I think there are a lot of memories to be made as a country kid and allowing them the freedom to have space. That was I guess I can kind of answer that for myself. It was never so much that I wanted to raise my kids on a farm, but I wanted to allow them to have the freedom to just go outside and do. That was so important to me as a kid, to go outside and just do things. Primarily, I had an older sister that we did play quite a bit together, but we also fought a lot together. But most of my memories from my childhood come with being by myself at the creek. We had a creek about a half mile from my house, and I would often take the lawnmower there or my bicycle, and it kind of started just by like throwing rocks off the bridge. Then I'm like, well, I can go underneath this bridge, and then all of a sudden it was like a whole new world underneath that bridge. It was almost like, wow, this is like I remember having like a little grill down there. I'd take hot dogs. Just spent a lot of time down at the creek by myself, and I got real comfortable being with myself because it was the only option we had, but at the same time we had space, and I loved having this space to ride four-wheelers and get dirty and, all the country kid stuff. So back to the story, you can, and I've been able to create that. That was one of my goals for my kids, was to get a property or get room for them to run. So I did create those memories for them, but in their own story. I didn't have to take them back to the farm, or I didn't have to have those memories on the farm. I was able to encapsulate that and kind of give it to them on my own. And so it's my story, and there is something really good about being able to have your own story. This isn't, I'm not my dad's son where I live. I'm Jeff. Like, I don't have ties where I'm at. I've moved 100 miles away many, many years ago. So it is kind of nice to have my life, but then it's just like, yeah, I can kind of curate my kid's life a little bit better in our own comfortable space. So yeah, that got deep with kids and stuff, and I know that's not part of the story, but you're listening to me. All right, you're listening to me. Oh God, I'm really all over the place today. One more all over the place I'm going to go is morning talk shows. What are you doing? It is the most obnoxious thing, and I would like to hear a morning show with anyone under the age of 31, because I am an FM radio guy. Streaming's fun when I'm wanting to feel a certain way, but for the most part, I put on FM radio and I just kind of don't really listen, but I just kind of scan, constantly hitting the next button. But this morning, that FM radio was on, and I just was listening to the radio, and it was the most cringe-worthy, hey, 5 a.m., 16-542, let's make a prank call that's not funny at all. It's like, good God, it's terrible. It's terrible. Why are they doing that? If I was a major radio corporation, I would probably get rid of morning shows, replace them with a podcast, throw advertising on top of the podcast. Then they're not on payroll. They're 1099. It's just, the morning show it's dumb. It is so dumb. I've never been a fan. The last time I listened to a Howard Stern, when I went to town to have a sleepover when I was 12, 13, and it opened up a whole new world to me. But in my adult life, Bob and Tom, Howard Stern, dude, fuck those guys. Sorry. That's very, very, but they're idiots. That's not normal how they talk. It's so, maybe it's normal to them, maybe, but it's just this can't be entertaining to your consumer. This can't be entertaining to your target audience for consumerism. We're much younger. The age group you're wanting to hit is not listening to Bob and Tom. And maybe the advertisers are just as old as them. I don't know who's the major advertisers for Bob and Tom. Let's look it up. Who is Bob and Tom's top 3 advertisers? Steven Singer Jewelers, Simply Safe, which, it's a lot of podcasts have Simply Safe, and Home Serve. I don't know what Home Serve is. Let's look up who are Howard Stern's top 3 advertisers. The world is an advertisement. If you guys haven't noticed that, just everything. You can't go on your phone without an advertisement. You can't watch TV without an advert. You can't go anywhere without seeing billboards. Like, it's the most obnoxious thing in the world. There is a show, if you just Google Consumerism show on Netflix, if there is one thing that has painted a picture of consumerism for me, and not even just what you buy, but the trash that goes with it as another mind-blowing thing, watch that and tell me it doesn't make you think about buying shit. I don't want to sound like one of those fucking people, but when I buy something from a thrift store, or when my whole outfit cost $6 and it had no packaging, it had a much smaller carbon footprint. Now, get me, I don't know if I said Goodwill or thrift, but Goodwill, I understand that's a huge, gross company, but again, it's almost too easy not to go there. But it's getting there. It's getting to be almost like kind of gross. But when you watch that, it's kind of eye-opening to how much shit we have and where does it go? You guys don't understand, like, how much garbage is on this world. Like, it's unfathomable. And yeah, that movie kind of changed it all for me. Howard Stern top advertisers include Snapple, Heineken, Trim Spa. All right, so Snapple, Heineken, I mean, but what? I don't know. Maybe I'm just in my own world and everyone loves Howard Stern. Maybe they do. I just think he's a complete buffoon. Like, the stuff he's saying should have ended at 20 years. It's like he never really got to evolve. Like, he never evolved as a human. The microphone and the headphones, wherever he started, that is where I feel like he's going to finish. But either way, talk about all the old heads in Hollywood and all that shit that goes on. It's just a fake world, and how it's still supported, it is beyond. How it's still supported, just like how's a Catholic Church still supported? Shots fired. How is religion as a whole supported? Now, I love me God. I think God created me. I'm not certain of that. Not 100% certain of that, but in my beliefs, I feel like God is something, right? I don't know what God is. I don't know if God is metaphoric. I don't know if, it's something about the 12 disciples and all the stories I have a hard time on, and it's all good. Love the Bible, love the stories. Okay, we're gonna lean into God. I think essentially as a whole, God is real, and just like anything else through its course of time, what is this? 26 years. I think the story may have stretched a little bit, and the most disgusting part is churches that make money off this. Hate it. I hate organized religion. I'm going to say it on the record. I hate it. As someone that's been in it, as someone that is a believer, someone that has dedicated a lot of time to his church and faith, on the other side now looking in, here's what I love about it. I'm not going to sit here and say what I hate about it. Here's what I love about churches. This is genuine and from my heart. I love what most churches have to offer when it comes to hope. I think church is a place you can go for hope. Church isn't a place where you have to go and learn about all the ins and outs of the Bible. I don't think you need to memorize scripture the way they say. I don't think you need to do a lot of things they say. But if you need a place for hope, if you are by yourself and you're struggling with something, if you're going through something, if you have questions about something, you can find support at a church for that. And I love that, because I was that guy one time, and that's what I needed. I needed a place to talk and open up and understand that other guys are going through the same thing. The problem that I have with it is set up to keep you there. Of all the things that I've done through church, of all the work I've put in myself, of all the people in my life that I've seen are the quote-unquote church people, right? You never see an end. School, we study and we take these tests so we can receive something for that, so we can show that, oh my gosh, it's good. And then we move on in life so we can grow. That's the goal. That's been the goal. That's the goal for everything. That's the goal for every single animal on this planet, every single person on this planet, is to be born. You have this stretch of, obviously it's different for us versus any other living thing, plants, animals on this planet, but it's our job to grow and mature. Everything matures, right? And then the point of maturing is to finally branch off. I don't see the end in anything in church. Of course, there's these classes. Of course, there's these support groups that are so good. I'm not diminishing any support group, whether it's church or AA or a Celebrate Recovery. I'm not diminishing what they're doing for people. It is such a good place for hope. But I wish it was structured a little more of give yourself credit too. Yes, we want to give these higher powers credit. Yes, we want to acknowledge them and say thank you, but thank you for allowing me to figure this out. They say change comes within, but how do you find that when you are supposed to say all glory be to God? What is wrong with giving yourself glory and saying, I fucking did this, right? If that is not the right way to live, then I will continue to live wrong. I am not this antichrist. I don't hate the church. I don't hate what it's doing. I don't hate how it's helping people. But I do hate how money always muddies the water everywhere. Anything in my life, thinking back and things I'm dealing with now, money has ruined more people than anything else, I believe. I think money at the core is the root of all evil. And if that's not true, then why aren't we taxing churches? Like, if it's not money, then why? Why are we not taxing? I don't understand. There's a lot I can go down that, and I'd love to. I'd love to talk more on it, but I try not to be too specific on my dumping grounds here. Again, we're just getting our feet wet here. But I would never discourage anyone to not go to church. We have plenty of friends that go to church. They go every Sunday. I've known plenty of people that go to church, and there's too many examples in my life to not necessarily trust the over-exuberant church person. This is speaking from an over-exuberant church person in his past. So I only speak for things that I've kind of put together for myself. But if that's your thing, if that's your sense of hope, if that's your sense of life, that's your sense of belonging and being alive, I love that for you. I love that because I know how powerful that can be when you need it the most. I've been there 1,000%. Hands up during worship, baby. Been there. And I loved it, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. It was so amazing for me to go through that. And I feel like without that perception, without going through that life, where I'm at now, I wouldn't have the same outlook. It's like I had to go through that to see it. It's almost like I was a spy. I had to go in the inside and get all the intel undercover. But no, I'm grateful for I'm grateful for everyone that was able to help when I needed it. Previous marriage, we leaned a lot on religion and trying to find the answers, but at the end of the day, as an individual, if you don't heal yourself without any other entity making that decision for you or persuading that decision for you, there's just something about accountability for yourself that is so huge. Not just accountability to your church, but accountability to yourself. I don't know. I wish there was a magic 8-ball that we could all snort. No, I'm kidding. I would never, ever. Anyways. Yeah, no, church talk's good. We got a little weed talk in there. We had an answer to the internet. So let's answer the internet. Is she the asshole? No, she's not. Honestly, how old did she say she was? Either way, I'm guessing, I don't know, 27 to 34 probably. I don't blame her one bit. I think there can be some communication there with the trust fund. Grandpa's word is honestly the end. If he says it's good, it's good. Whatever. But no, I think it's a pretty basic problem that probably sucks having family involved. But yeah, no, I get it. I think you're on the right track, answering the questions and just reaching out. But yeah, no, I hope you can create the same childhood that yours felt like for your children, regardless of what house you're in. That's the best advice I got for you today on Shut Up and Listen. So thanks for listening along. I'm sorry there wasn't like wacky sound effects or like just locker room talk from an old man that's trying to be relevant still. Maybe I'll try the next episode. Maybe next time I'll pull out my Howard Stern. All right. Thank you for the 6 people that are listening. It's not going anywhere. We ain't going nowhere. All right, guys. Love you. Bye.